We're all aware of the nonsense that's being spewed out by the WHO at the moment. The most recent one being what's cute, attractive, smells good, and kills. And it's not a Pokemon. They say it's a vape. Now, I'm not sure if this is designed to troll people or rage bait them, or if it has a direct target intended before they ever hit send. Today, we're going to talk about what can work against this, and we have three excellent examples. All the way, I'll start on the far side because you're the furthest away. Asha, Ignacio, and our first speaker who will tell us how successful Sweden have been. Carissa, have a mic.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Carissa, and I am the director of Considerate Pouchers in Sweden. We're a global consumer advocacy group promoting mainly nicotine pouches, but all tobacco harm reduction, really. And Sweden is a great example of where tobacco harm reduction has worked. We have products like vapes, but we have our main product, I would say, which is snus. It's a tobacco pouch that you put under your lip and you keep it in there and it releases nicotine and then you take it out. Since 2016, we've also had nicotine pouches. They were invented there and they have contributed to decreasing the smoking rates, mainly among women for the whole population, we now have 5.6% smokers, which is very, very low. Men have usually used snus and had the lowest smoking rates in Sweden for a long time, whilst women just dropped recently with the introduction of nicotine pouches. So Sweden is a bit of a wonder child, and the reason why we are this is because the Swedes have had snus for a very long time, almost 200 years. And when we entered into the European Union, we said, if we're going to join you, we need to keep our snus. And so we did, and we got an exemption from the EU ban on oral tobacco. And now we can see that Sweden, many years after, has the lowest smoking rates in the whole of the European Union. The rest of the European Union aren't even close. So Swedish consumers said, don't touch our snus. And that is the reason that Sweden has had snus for a very long time. And this is a consumer-driven movement. This is not some policy that the government wanted. It was not a conscious strategy, more or less. It happened more or less by chance. And you'd think that the Swedish government would be very proud of what we have achieved in Sweden. The truth is that they are not. Rather, they've been for a long time working against it, and they are not promoting it actively around the world. The first positive government towards tobacco harm reduction was last year. This was the first time they said, oh, tobacco harm reduction, that is something that we want to implement in our policy. Which is a huge milestone for us. But it's really, really interesting. And the EU are not very positive towards nicotine pouches. Last year, a report was leaked when they are proposing to ban nicotine pouches. And what is very interesting is that the Swedish government, the ones that are positive, had the possibility to give feedback on this report and say, hey, we've done this in Sweden, this works well. Why do you want to ban it? But they have not. And this was reported in the media, and consumers became, of course, outraged. Why haven't you done something? The EU is looking to ban our nicotine pouches. Why aren't you doing anything? And the same theme goes on internationally as well, globally. We had COP10 last year, and Sweden didn't want to take a stance. You'd think because Sweden is so much before all the other countries in the world, we would actually be there and say, hey, look at our model. We've done something. We're saving millions of lives. But they didn't want to say their stance. And the delegation representative said instead, we are going to have the same approach as the rest of the European Union. That is all I can say. And as we know, the European Union aren't very positive. And so why did the Swedish delegation think that this is a good idea? The EU delegation said in the opening ceremony that because of the growing market for novel tobacco and nicotine products, we have to increase our efforts to curb these products. And we are way before everyone else. And this is really because consumers have not been putting enough pressure on our representatives to represent our policy internationally. And I think Sweden has a really huge and important role to play when it comes to this. We have a real-life example. Well, the positive thing, though, is that after that this became a huge thing in Sweden, snus was a big part of the European Union election. And many of the parties took an active stance. And this is because consumers demanded this of them. But what is interesting, though, is that a lot of other people, other representatives says that this is a non-question. We don't have to care about snus because we have an exception. But what most Swedes don't know is that we don't have an exemption for nicotine pouches. We only have it for snus. But this, I think, explains a lot why Sweden is a bit passive, and also Swedish consumers are a bit passive. It's because we think that we are protected, but we are really not. So, politicians in Sweden do not realize that we are becoming smoke-free. And they are waking up after a lot of active campaigning from our sides. But we are still facing a lot of challenges and a lot of misinformation. And one of these is the idea, one that we face a lot is we don't know about the health effects, but they probably aren't good for you. And the Swedish Public Health Agency states that using snus could affect the heart and blood vessels by reducing the vessel's ability to dilate and increasing blood pressure. People who use snus might have an increased risk of death in the weeks following a heart attack or stroke. These are guesses. They don't know this. And there is a lot of research that are stating the opposite. But they are quite well in the hands of the WHO. So they don't want to be really positive. But we have a lot of research on this in Sweden because we've had it for so long. And we are comparing something that we know will kill you and give you cancer with something that might have some side effects, but we don't know. I think that's very interesting. And this is coming from the Public Health Agency. So this is something that we are facing and struggling with, even in Sweden, which is one of the countries that are at the forefront of tobacco harm reduction. I think I have talked for a while, so maybe I put down the microphone now and then we continue the discussion later.
Thanks, Carissa. Yeah, it's interesting the influence that culture has in a situation like that. I mean, snus has been around for how long?
200 years.
Vaping's been around for almost 20. We might have a long way to go yet. I'll hand over now to Asha over there. And you have a mic, you're good.
I do.
And he'll tell us about the situation in Asia.
Well, it looks like I probably have to speak in the Asia-Pacific region in general. First, let me stress how different each country in Asia-Pacific. For example, I'm from Thailand, and we are right next to Malaysia. Malaysia had already lifted the ban. They have regulations, same as Indonesia. Congratulations to the Philippines. that they just there are new laws, and plus you can see a big examples between Australia and New Zealand, which is like completely almost opposite each other. For Asian part, we are trying to the politics in Asia is kind of different from the Western, especially if you know history. Most of the countries in Asia had been occupied at some time or another by European countries like the British Empire, the Spanish, the Portuguese. They tried to conquer the world, but except Thailand, we were lucky. I don't say we were lucky. I said we were unlucky ones that not really smart, really. Smart, yes, but I wouldn't dare go to say like unlucky, lucky or unlucky. I would consider we are unlucky because there are a lot of things that we lack that other people around us they have their advantages. But let's come back to the tobacco harm reduction point. I can say pretty much what's going on in Thailand is really weird. We just passed the 10th anniversary of vape ban in Thailand. It started like two months ago. We celebrate. So it's been 10 years. It's getting weird to the point that I have I've spoken before, saying like, what is really illegal in Thailand about electronic cigarette? You cannot import. So importation is definitely illegal with the intent of purpose of commercial use. So commercialized importation is illegal. You might ask that and say, what about if one of you, or me, myself, I return from Europe, going back into Thailand, I carry something with me like this, Would that be called importation? Well, that depends on which customs you meet. They might think of, it's personal belonging, no problem. Or like if they're not in a good mood, they say like, this is importation, we're gonna have to confiscate it, especially if they know what we are carrying. They say like, there's a pricey one, there's a high-end one, So it depends. It's iffy, but for sure, importation plus distribution is definitely illegal. So that means you cannot sell. Buying is not illegal. Possession is not illegal. Using is not illegal. Vaping is not illegal because there's no law control over it. So in general sense, you can even vape in a no smoking zone. No punishment because there's no laws. And then when you say, like if you want to really fight it, you're going to be going like, well, it's been considered vaping is considered the same as smoking. No, it's not. It's definitely, we know it's not. But even the lawmakers and the police and the customs, they even acknowledge that vaping and smoking is not the same. So ECST, our organization in Cigarette Smoke Thailand, we have like about 100,000 plus members right now at the moment. And so what we are trying to do is we try to educate people and we try to talk with the government. There are lots of suggestions going around in these venues, this event GFN in many years. They like participation is the key. But you have to consider like for people like Thai people, they don't want to engage. Even they are the stakeholders. About 8 years ago, I tried to get a rally getting together because that was the beginning of the ban, and we tried to get together. And I would say like, if we can have like 150 to 200 people show up at the parliament at one time, that would be it. The government would say like, okay, it's wrong to put on the ban. We have many, and we try to, at that time we say like we have at least half a million vapors, at least 500,000 vapors, which is a small number to the government, but still, like right now we probably have at least 1.5 million vapors. But at that time, people promised, about 120 people promised to show up. In the end, when the day comes, we have 8 people show up at the parliament. So the government was going like, "Why? Yeah, you said there's a lot of vapors. You know, even the taxi motorcycle, they shows up in the hundreds of them. They want to change the law. That is so stupid. You know, like for example, helmet law. Government has to come back, which is for their safety. But this one, you know, like no one just show up. So I'm going like, well, we're gonna keep on pushing, and I try to insert myself. And one of the problem I think lots of us are facing with, and I have asked quite a few times, is like, how do we get the opposition party, the people that said vaping is either equally or more dangerous than smoking, to come and talk with us peacefully, have a debate, forum or something. Because every time, you know, if there's a middle ground and like a big TV national station invite us and them, they were just like, no, we're not going to go because pointing at us, right? These people are violent. We don't want to engage in violent conversation. We don't want to involve it with anything violent. Going like, me violent? I mean, like, if Ignacio maybe, but you know, look at me.
I am.
But you know, really, because we try, and a lot of people like had been said like, we'll try to bring in more engagement. My question back to you is like, how? We tried. I have been attacked since the day I was elected committee of the parliament to study the laws on electronic cigarette. I have been attacked from day one, receiving fundings from the industry, tobacco industries, receiving funding from PMI, get in touch with BAT. I am the representative of tobacco industries. Whatever I go, wherever I go, whatever I do, everything just turned like, no, you got to kick this guy out. So they are also trying to use Article 5.3. We all know that, right? 5.3. We have been faced it. A lot of us had tried to get into COP. Last one is COP 10 that you just mentioned. Stakeholders are not allowed inside, which is really weird. And it's exactly the same thing that's going on. But finally, the government in Thailand is open up. They invite one of our members from ECST. So there are 2 of us representing vapers, 1.5 million at least vapers. We get to go in there. I get to be at the parliament every week, maybe once or twice or 3 times a week. And we get to explain to them. So it's a small step. And hopefully, by the end of this year or end of next year, there will be some changes, because now they know that it's a big mistake that they made. Because if you go to Thailand, there's vape shop everywhere. You can buy vape. Everybody vapes. I mean, and one of the problems that is kind of connected is like, how the hell did they lift the ban on marijuana and THC and CBD and cannabis? Everything is openly free. It's even worse than Amsterdam, really, in Thailand right now. But still, they have like tons of restriction on electronic cigarette. And the worst thing that will come is bribery. So that's, you know, like the police will go like, oh, vaping is illegal, especially for foreigners. So, yeah. Were you one of them in jail? No? Yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on in Southeast Asia right now, especially in Thailand. If there's some question, yeah, I'll be glad to. Thanks.
Thanks, Asia. I will be coming back to all of the speakers with some questions later, but let's hear from the far south now in Chile and Ignacio.
Well, yes, I'm from Chile. Chile, first, I will tell you the history in Chile. Chile being a very long advocacy consumers story that have been like a roller coaster with highlights, with very low moments. And now we are in a very high moment. So we're very happy. And I will tell you what happened from the consumers in Chile and why we think that it could serve someone to try to do it, to see what it works for us. in 2010, I started with the advocacy. I have been 14 years working by now. We needed to face the possibility of a complete ban of electronic cigarettes in Chile. In that moment, and you will see in the history, we were totally shut down in our country. We were not knowing what was going on in any other place. At the same moment, Brazil was forced to ban the e-cigarettes. Argentina, Uruguay, and many other countries were in the same situation with very bad legislations or finally banned. Chile was the first one to try to ban e-cigarettes at that moment. And in that moment, I said, no way, they won't take my stuff. But I was literally alone. It was the only people that vapes that I know at that moment. And I was like crazy looking, I was standing out of the shops, waiting people to come to ask them if they vape, to try to gather some people. We were able to gather a very, very small group. We were 4 persons, plus the only owner of a shop in Chile at that moment. And we created a campaign, something that today won't work, because in that time, social medias and YouTube and that kind of stuff didn't work like today. So we start a formal campaign in the normal medias, radio, TV. I'm a journalist, so I made a plan, and we were able at least to stop the ban in Chile. There was no regulation, but we stopped the ban, but they put on us decree that makes nicotine illegal if it was not sold in a pharmacy. So they put us in a gray market. So for the consumers, it's a very big problem to get nicotine in Chile, because you need to go into the gray market, because we have formal shops that you said, I want e-liquid with no nicotine. 30 days. You know what I mean. So the market was evolving all this time, but I understood immediately that this will came back. So what we can do to prevent in the future the next hit that they will make. So I decided to start a community of electronic users via Facebook. At that time, we didn't know much about electronic cigarettes. We didn't even know what the liquids were made of. We didn't know barely nothing. But we start learning by ourselves and gathering people. And that community started growing. And the main objective of that community was inform the users. The users need to know what they are doing, what are the good things, what are the bad things, if they are. And we need to start this way. And we were working for very long, only expecting that day that we will need these people. In 2018, at that moment, we were 7,000 people on the community, very active community with posts like every hours, and the people was really, really passionate on vaping. Came the second strike from the government, and they announced that they will try to ban e-cigarettes again. Sorry. Not helping. It's not helping. I was not alone. That moment, I was not alone now. Oh, gosh. Wait a second. Yeah, good idea. I was not alone, so now we were 6,000 persons ready to fight against them, against Bloomberg, against everyone. At that moment, and you will see in the history, we didn't know about Bloomberg. We didn't know about harm reduction. We didn't know nothing. We were just people that vape and want to save their option of feeling better. We were not even using the right terminology or anything. And in 2018, we went out, we started fighting in the medias everywhere. We were able to stop the possibility of banning, but they went with a very strict law, a project of law to the parliament against vaping. And in that moment, we decided to go to the street. And we made the first public massive manifestation in front of the Minister of Health. And it went very well. We have a very nice moment and so on. And one day after, I received an email from Spain, from someone called Ángeles Montadas. And I was like, why they are talking to me? Who is these people? And the email said, oh, we saw that you exist or something like that, but it was like, we just realized that there is an advocacy in Chile, and the massive manifestation was on 30th of May. And she said, we want to invite you in 14 days more to come to Warsaw to GFN. What? Well, you know what? I'm very grateful that you're inviting me, but all the money that I got, I use it here. I can't use my money to fly while we are in the fight. And she said, no, you're not getting it. We're inviting you. To what? And then I start looking, and there was a global forum of nicotine, and there was crazy people like me everywhere. Everywhere. Some of you, the old ones, might remember me. You're not helping me. She started crying first. This time, might remind me. Oh, I came here and it was a new world. A lot of people like me, I was crazy. I was looking to everyone, wanting to talk to everyone. And you teach me harm reduction. You teach me that I was not only not alone in my country. We were fighting for the same. GFN, it's something that changed directly the process in Chile. Everyone said, GFN changed your life. Yet GFN changed my country, changed our advocacy. They teach us how to go through, to professionalize the activism. We were just a mass of people trying to fight. We learned about harm reduction. We understood what we were fighting for. We were fighting for something that we knew that was something, but we didn't know how to express it. And then we start immediately, we come back to Chile, and we start the campaign, Vaping, It's Not Smoking. And again, we start informing, but now not only our people, we start informing the rest of the people, the massive people. But we understood that that can't be done if it's not in a professional way. And I'm not telling it in terms of money. I'm telling it in terms of quality. Make your publications to look as if they were professional. Find someone that is able to do good work. Do a campaign that will be multi-platforms, and don't stop. It needs to be done religiously. There is not a single week that we don't have at least 4 posts. And if we have problems, in that times we post 4 times a day what is going on in Chile. At the same time, what else we can do? And we did everything. When I told you everything, it's everything. We went out to the streets to put posters, putting stickers in the bus stops. We make one of our vaping members to run the marathon and cross the marathon of Santiago vaping with the cloud. Come on, do it, smoking. Vape while you run and cross the line, throwing the cloud. So that became a video that could go in our medias, and videos that were going viral and telling the people, vaping, it's not smoking. Vaping, it's not smoking. And we didn't stop. We tried a lot of crazy stuff. We even thought once to put drones over the capital to throw paper saying vaping, it's not smoking. Was too expensive, but was a good idea. But this was starting to change the mindset of the Chileans. It was not that easy now to say that it's the same. But also we start changing the mindset of the politicians, because we were able to show them that they will affect a lot of people. So in some moment at the beginning, when you start trying to talk with them, as the problem that you all of you had, they didn't want to speak with us. Used the Convenio Marco and said, no, we can't speak with you. And what we did, we called our community and said, send emails from today and on, non-stop to all the members of the commission. They start sending like hell, and in some moment they said, okay, you will come to the Commission of Health, you have 10 minutes, by clock. Okay, I went there. They didn't pay any attention on me. It was a total failure. And when it ended, I realized what we were playing. In that moment, one of the most important senators of Chile told me in the session of the Commission of Health, public, streamed even, that we, the people that are fighting for vaporizing, were the new pedophiles of this century. And they blocked my microphone. I couldn't answer. But that's how bad was the situation through politicians. But we start talking with a lot of other politicians, and some little windows were going to be open. And that process goes after the senator to the Chamber of Deputies. They opened the window to let us enter by the door to the Senate, to the Deputies Chamber. And they wanted to listen. So there, we win. We win. We were able to change up and said, delete this project and make a new one. And this one, even if it's not perfect, it's a way long more friendly to vaping, understanding what vaping, it's not smoking. We were able, always focus, vaping, it's not smoking. And finally, after 5 years, from 2019 until 24, with a lot of commissions of health in both chambers, with a lot of massive elections and stuff, we were able to promote a law in favor of vaping, voted 7 times in the legislative committees by unanimity. All the politicians in Chile, every single politician in Chile, vote in favor for the law, because we finally make them understood that vaping, it's not smoking. I'm super happy at this moment, but we know, as I knew in 2010 that the fight was not ended, I still know that there is a way long to go through. The law was edicted on January of this year. We're waiting for the reglement of the ministry that it's supposed to come on July. We hope that we won't face any surprise on that, but if everything goes as planned, the people in Chile will vape in July. So that's how something so little can make a change. A lot of times I look at the advocacy saying, but it's so difficult. What we can do against all this money? We had a lot of problems. In some moments, that's something. In one moment, we were one election to lose absolutely everything. They were going to vote the first project that was with no flavors. It was a total restrictional, it was so restrictive law that it will be impossible to develop the category in Chile. And they were going to vote, and one of our deputies stopped the election, was able to move it for the next session. We have only 1 weekend, and we knew that we will lose absolutely everything. We called the community, and we did 3 things. One I don't remember. I hope Mauro will remember, because now 2 of them came to my mind. We made a tweet bomb during that weekend. We keep vaping, it's not smoking, for the whole weekend at the first hashtag on X. What made the deputies to see it, and they were open to talk with us. And on Monday we had 3 sessions that switched 3 voters. But the most important stuff is that we create electronic platform where each user could enter some data of his experience, and they could send immediately a personalized email telling their experience at vapor and of vaping to each single deputy of the Commission of Health. And also we asked them to do this. That weekend, the deputies of the chamber received more than 9,000 mails from the users from Chile. When the session started, one of the deputies against us said that this could not be something that they should approve because we hacked his email and put it down because he got so much email that the server stopped working on his stuff. So he was pissed because we hacked him. And it was just because so much people sent them emails that it was impossible not to see it. So the election couldn't be done. And they said, wait, we need to continue this talk. That was not me. That was the people. You can't do something from advocacy, but they need to be part of it. I know it's hard. I know that it's hard to connect with them. Today, even worse, after pandemic, people got a little far from this stuff and don't understand how important they are. The good thing is to make them understand, to make them feel that this cause, it's not only to keep vaping. It's the most important thing. It's to save lives, not from us, from the ones that are still smoking. And that's it. I hope you cried.
Thanks, Ignacio. I was going to accuse the WHO of raising the emotional temperature with their tweeting, but it would appear it is an emotional subject. Couple of questions. Where's the opposition coming from? Not so much in who, but what place? What is driving it? Is it fear of change? Is it moral opposition to nicotine? In a country like Sweden, where it's so well embedded, where's your opposition coming from?
Unfortunately, I think the boring answer to this one is that it's just the people who used to fight cigarettes now has switched to fighting nicotine because they can't differ between the two. And that is where so much of the resistance is founded. It's like, oh, but since cigarettes are bad and there's nicotine in cigarettes, then also nicotine itself has to be bad. And that one goes strong. And also the fact that it's an addictive substance, but we use a lot of other addictive substances, such as coffee and alcohol. But it's that word, it's very loaded, really.
And loaded seems to be the way the debate is moving. The rhetoric is being ramped up on every round. I'm going to ask Asha, where's your opposition coming from?
Mainly from the tobacco control people, really. And like Carissa said, I think personally, I have to say this personally, I think they are fighting a battle that they know they're not going to win. They had been fighting this battle for a very, very long time, and they think they have control of the tobacco industry. But I think deep down inside, I get to talk to some of them, and they say it's an uphill battle, and they're not going to be able to win. And back when COP was held in India, it was COP 6 or 7, someone has a bright idea of saying hey, there's a new tobacco product. It's called electronic cigarette. So it's a kind of cigarette. And it just, we're something very modern, very new, very nouveau. Let's nip let's nip it at the bud. And they said, so let's destroy vape industry completely before it could get itself started, without knowing that Public Health England had already backed up vaping as a method of smoking cessation. And so, So that's a kind of mindset that we got, especially from Southeast Asia countries. Some better, some worse. India is even ridiculous, even more ridiculous than we could think of. Like I just talked to some Indian people. I don't think this is in here. And so it's really, I think it's like the main opposition is tobacco control people. And we even got like this morning, I just got this quote from someone like head of the tobacco control people saying like, well, one thing, if we're going to regulate electronic cigarette, regulate vaping, one thing we must ban is Nic Zero liquid. I'm going like, say what? Because, Nic Zero contains uncertain amount of nicotine. I'm going like, what? Like, what's the concept of nicotine zero means no nicotine. If there's some kind of nicotine inside, whether it's a salt nic, is a free base or synthetic nicotine, then you control it. But Nic Zero is just like 0% beer, alcohol. They want to tax it same as beer, same as alcohol. But it's non-alcoholic drink. It's this exact same mindset. And a friend of mine just reported me last night. He said like he's being fined for posting. He was holding a bottle of alcohol, a local made brew in Thailand. And he's got this official letters from the government say he has to go in report to the judge, go to court, just for putting on social media on I don't know, TikTok or X or something like that. So that's a kind of mindset. And he asked me like, oh, who would have done this? I said like, well, definitely same people, the people that say that they care about public health. Those are the same people that come up with all these ridiculous ideas. So these are the tobacco control people that they are probably up to their I don't know, it's an uphill battle, and they get into a street without end, and then they just found themselves stuck by the wall. So they turn around and they say like, oh, electronic cigarettes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they met us. Like,
Yeah. South America, the main opposition. Are we all fighting the same dragon? Does anybody think?
I was going to put it in another way. I think that we fought two group of people. A group of mercenaries with a lot of money. And we fought a group of ignorant people and lazy people that listen these mercenaries, and that goes in all the scales. Politicians, you got some politicians that receive funding from Bloomberg. And when I said Bloomberg, I want to make it clear. When we say Bloomberg, Bloomberg is the biggest one. Bloomberg is the guy. But there are other Bloombergitos everywhere. There are little Bloombergs in other parts that also put their little amount of budget that we sometimes look Bloomberg as the only person. There are many Bloombergs. But Bloomberg, most of us know, he have put against tobacco, now vaping, $1.5 billion against us. That's the amount of money we're fighting. And that one, it's held by a group of very big mercenaries, politicians, doctors, and advocates that receive this amount of money. But there is a bigger group of people that hear what these mercenaries said. They don't read absolutely nothing more than the title and go fighting like if it were fighting like me. But I read a lot. But I think that's the thing, and we fight too. Politicians, medias, advocacies of tobacco control, and the tobacco control itself, that I will say that are the most dirty mercenaries and a bunch of liars with no morality at all. That's what we fight today.
Carissa? You know?
Yes, I think on the grand scale, we are all fighting more or less the same misconceptions. But when I hear a lot of people here speak about the situation in different countries, we are on very different level of what arguments are relevant to the context. In some countries, it is this is a way for people to transition from smoking, and that's about it. We can continue it from there. But in Sweden, we have a whole new generation who never smoked in the first place. They never picked up a cigarette. They picked up nicotine pouches instead. And that is another battle. And that argument doesn't work in our context anymore. It works as that they didn't start smoking, yes. But when we in Sweden are looking at how to improve our advocacy, where do we go from here? We are really looking at things like the health part of it. Does nicotine cause cancer? No. That's the message we need to get out there because it's not clear. And
Yeah, I wonder, is there a huge protecting the future of our precious children, or are they fighting irrelevancy, tobacco control?
yeah, this is something I spend a lot of time thinking about because it's my generation who picked up these things. And I think we have the answer to the youth question in the answer of, is nicotine a dangerous substance? Because if we find that it's not more dangerous than, say, caffeine, that is the case we should make. But in a lot of countries, this is a much harder argument to start with if everybody's super concerned with youth vaping, for example. Maybe that's not a place to start, but in some countries, that's where we're at, and that's the fight we have to begin having.
You go. The one thing I'm hearing from everybody here is that the most important player is the ones that aren't talking at the moment. The consumers themselves, in large numbers, are more important than all of us advocates. How do we motivate them?
I think it's hard. It's very, very hard, and it's time harder because, as I said, we have a very, very, very long fight. It being 14 years. This is I don't know how to say it in English. Es una batalla por agotamiento. Anyone? A long-term battle that make the soldiers to get tired of the battle, and it's so full of up and downs that it's like the story of Pedrito and the wolf. The wolf is coming. So the first time, all the advocates were like, ah. The second time, ah. The third time, eh. And now it's like, please come. Yeah, it's a thing. But I think it's not abusing on the users. And when I said don't abuse on the user, is to see them as a resource that it's not endless. They will get tired. So if we don't, this might sound bad, but don't take it in the wrong way. If we don't need them, we don't call them. If it's not a matter of life and death for vaping, we won't ask them to make a tweet bomb just because it's the vaping day. We don't do it. In Chile, we don't. We don't go on tweet bombs on vaping day because we know that the tweet bomb, it's when the senators want to forbid it. We need to save those bullets. So knowing that this so important resource, it's not endless, you need to dosify it in the way that you will be able to go through. And to dosify that, you need to work double. Because in those periods when you're not calling your people to fight, you need to look strong anyway. So that's the time where you need your team, your direct team, to be posting every day, to be working harder, to doing as much as you can. So the image of the users, it's constantly there. We are a lot. You are affecting us. Vaping, it's not smoking. And when the warning or the moment of battle come, then You bring the horde.
Don't blow the bugle. Okay, we're going to get some questions.
Can I
if
add
anybody
just-
has any down there?
Can I just add
Yeah.
just a wee bit more?
Sorry,
Some of us may feel like we are doing this by ourselves, by myself. We're doing it all alone. And about 10, 12 years ago, I started doing that, especially over 10 years ago that there was a ban. And like I just told you, like I expect 150, 200 people and only 8 show up, and mainly are the people within the border of ECST, ourselves, plus 2 more people that I don't know, But, don't give up. Because like I've always said, I've always said to a lot of people, especially to our, we have live casts every Saturday and Sunday, but now we only do it on Saturday. And the purpose of our live cast is just, it's an open room, like whoever got questions, how to build, which atomizer would go with mods and how to build this, how to do that, which brand is good, which brand is bad, liquid, flavor, everything and everything in between. Plus, lots of problems like, how's the laws going these days? So we answer that. The live session is about an hour-ish, hour to hour and a half, and at least 3 times within the same session, the people like, is position illegal? So we have to just keep on educating people, keep on saying that, and more and more. And within this past few, like a year or so, or past 2 years, especially during the pandemic, the COVID, people get to stay at home. Who they stay with? Their phone, their tablet, their computer, right? And right now, we don't have to go out, and when misinformation comes out, we don't have to go out and say, like, hey, it's wrong. No, it's from the people. I was surprised, this past 2 years. I was going to go and say, like, oh, wait, who's this? Somebody else just come like, no, where you get the information from? No, vaping is not is not more dangerous. And there are cases of this young 14-year-old girl, she had like badly injured lung, and there were tons of people saying like, what did the doctor say? Is really vaping the symptom? What about the back history? This girl had got asthma. What's her lung injury? She's got any allergy? Has she been smoking, or did she use any THC? All these are coming. I was surprised, and I was like, wow, all the past 10 years, it worked out, it started from us, from 1 people, 2 people, 3 people, and it will spread, just believe me, it will.
Okay. Open to the floor now, if anybody has questions for anyone on the panel. Harry.
We do it by there's a national survey. If we go by national surveys, right, per household, we would end up with almost 10 million, but we don't trust the national surveys. So we look at the numbers of expenditures, spendings per person, and we look at almost everything. Plus, about 3 years ago, we have a Facebook that, before it was shut down, has 480,000 members. So we figure like about 30% of vapers belong to that community, belong to that one single Facebook group. And there's a lot of calculation statistics that I'm not, deep into that. But we have figured out, and there's a very famous professor. He was the one who did all the calculation, and he said like 1 to a million to a million, at least a million to a million and a half. Yeah, yep, yes. Yes. Yes, the tobacco control people, they work with the national statistic, the Department of National Statistics, yes. Yeah, it's exactly the same though, because like I think that we probably knows it comes from.
You need to use it because of the streaming.
Yeah, okay. I think we all know that it comes from WHO, FCTC, and like I said, like they are fighting against the unwinnable battle, and right now, especially in Asian countries and in Thailand, they use the youth as their last resort because like they say like, oh, protect the youth, which actually, if you don't have any kind of regulation, it's going to be very difficult to deal with youth because look at the distributors or the merchants' perspective. If there's a regulation, then you know that if you sell to minors or to youth, then you will lose your license. In countries like Thailand, that's distribution is illegal. Whether you sell it to 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, the results are the same. So you would be business minded, going like, so what? I'm going to sell it to you since it brings me money. So we need regulations. We need some kind of regulations to prevent youth. And especially we need correct information of how harmful each level of smoking or whatever you bring into yourself. Sugar, Carissa, you just missed sugar. That's one addiction that is very dangerous. So yeah, youth is a big issue because right now they know that they cannot fight. Right now, even representative of WHO, FCTC had admitted that yes, vaping is safer than smoking. So right now, that's the only point they go like, oh, so we gotta protect the youth.
I want to say something about that, and I think it could help in some way. I understand where your question mark is going to. It's anyone in this room that supports or want to promote vaping on kids? No. I'm totally against of kids vaping. And why I'm making this question that might sound stupid, that's our fight too. And they took it from us. So what we did in Chile is that one of the main messages that we have in our campaign, in the regulation process, everything is we fight for protecting the kids. And we fight a lot more than them. And we expose them. We exposed them because we went into the parliament asking for higher sanctions of those ones who will sell or promote vaping on kids. So the topic will continue being a thing, but it's not their thing. It's our thing. It's something that they can't use against you. Because what are you talking about? We are totally against it. We were smokers. So that's the way, at least for us, it works. And I will just take a second to go back to something that I said that I didn't, and I will feel bad if I don't. The first thing is that in my process, as I found these mercenaries in politicians, doctors, etc., I found a lot of good politicians, real politicians that comes to you and help you. And I didn't need to bribe them or pay them or nothing, and they took the cause as them. We have politicians now that are pro-vaping, and when I talk to them, they are so passionate as me. So also that thing of looking at the politicians as very bad people, it's a mistake too, because you will find good ones. And the other thing that I wanted to say, and it will take me just a second, it's that I'm very proud for what we did in Chile, but I'm more proud of Latin America. In 2019, when I was invited to GFN, we were 4 LATAMs here, and it was our first time. There was only 2 associations of consumers in whole LATAM at that time. 3, sorry. Today, we have in Peru, Jorge fighting like me. In Paraguay, Sergio. Mara in Argentina. Miguel in Brazil. In Spain, we have El Mono, Julio Ruades, and Ángeles Montada. Sorry, we feel them Latin. I know they are European, but they are more Latin. You know, Spain, it's like Latin of Europe. Yeah, it's true. It's true. We have Boris in Ecuador. We have George in El Salvador. We have Francisco. Francisco is the father of the associations in Latin America. He was the one to work not only in his country, he was going to every single country to find the people, the right people to take in the advocacy. We have Tomás O'Gorman and Juan José Sirión in Mexico. We made what GFN do to us. They connect us, and we work all together. They are not alone either, and I don't have only the Chileans to support me. Now we work as a network, and I'm super, super, super proud of the new advocacies in Chile that are working as I remember I was working at the beginning, especially you.
Yeah. Carissa,
Yes.
as they're mentioning youth use, I have no information. Is snus a problem for underage users in Sweden, or is there any attention on that?
Well, there is attention and there is some discussion on it. But I think what I really want to emphasize is that on a well-regulated market, this is a problem that can be handled. Sweden is doing this. We are handling this. We are looking at it. And I also really want to say, for the politicians in the countries who say, we don't want youth vaping, what do the youth use instead? Many of these countries have youth that use cigarettes.
Yeah.
That's hypocrisy. Why do they want to ban the safe alternatives when the children are already using the dangerous ones? It's insane to me.
Yeah, it's a very fair point. They won't all just, I don't know, take up piano playing or something instead. Question down there, Bent.
But it's because of the streaming that you need to use the microphone. So people.
He's got one.
Thank you. Bengt Wiberg, founder of EU for Snus and inventor. Today, Swedish newspapers were full of more or less hatred to ban all flavors. And there were, in this article, doctors against tobacco, tobacco-free kids, smokeless generation, etc., signed this newspaper article. And there were no mentioning of adults whatsoever. So they just want to ban it for everybody, talking about the children. But my question to everybody in this room is why we live in a high-tech world. Everything, when you buy something on the internet, you have to identify yourself with the e-ID or a bank ID. So why not implement this in all places who are selling tobacco products, on either online or in a shop? If somebody looks to be younger than 25, ask for a bank ID. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think everybody has a bank account, but it can vary. Also, if shops are going to regulate things by asking for personal information, that's a huge GDPR issue. It's like way outside of tobacco control or anybody else's remit to bring in regulations like that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I also would say that maybe some stores, maybe not online, but in person, might not have those kinds of resources all over the world. I think in Sweden it would work very well, but not applicable in the rest of the world, I think.
Online, it's easy to implement an e-ID because
Yeah.
there is an 18-year-old limit for any nicotine product in Sweden. But if I walk into a tobacco shop, I'm sure they will not ask me to show my ID because I'm 67. But you could ask a person who looks very young
I
for a driver license or ID.
sorry, I totally agree with you, Bent. Just to say that maybe I think that, as I said, it's not a pose that I'm against kids vaping. I totally believe it. Even if someone could say that taking some information of you or anything, I think it's worth it to protect the kids. If you will sell online, I agree with you. There should be a way to be sure that you're selling to a person that it's overage. But badly, that it's not on advocacy. That one needs to come from the industry. And touching that point, again, I can only talk about the experience in Chile. We have a very, very close relationship with the shops, with the industry. Not with the big tobacco, but with the industry. We have a very strong connection. It was difficult to make it up because they were very... huh? No. They didn't trust us. They were scared of us because we are the users. We will fight for our rights. So it's at the beginning was a very far relationship, but they understood that they need to be part of the cause. And today, all those jobs that are everywhere, you will have some jobs that will do what they want, but the big industry, the one that have gremiated, they have their association. I swear that in none of them you will be able to buy a single electronic cigarette because they understood that if they do it, we will lose because it's the only thing they have. So it's need to be done. The industry need to understand that we, in this part of the trip, we are together. In the future, I'm sure they will hate me. Today, they love me. Yeah, because I'm fighting for them. But in the moment that we finally need to stop to fight with the government, the fight will be with them. At least we will know our names when we are beating each other. But yeah, I agree. I think measurement to forbid the kids to touch them, it's enough. Everything will be okay. And if you don't want to give your bank account details, go and buy not online. That's it. You will have the choice. Users need to have a choice, but that choice can't go over the bad things like kids vaping.
I mean,
I got the mic, yeah. H from Fact Asia. I'd just like to ask the panelists, including you, where your governments and where you stand on disposables.
Okay, I'm in Ireland. Our government are currently working on legislation to remove disposables from the market completely. They're doing this under environmental grounds rather than because of nicotine. It's the batteries, it's the plastic, it's the chemicals that will leach. They are entirely recyclable and they do go in to the battery recycling bins. But we have had issues where they've just been thrown in general waste and caused fires at landfills. So yeah, there's an issue there. Where do I stand as an advocate for vaping? I'm going to make enemies. I hated the sight of them when they turned up because I felt they drew a target on our back. But on the other hand, if they had been the first vape had been a bright coloured, fruit-flavoured, enjoyable experience as disposables are, I think we'd have way, way fewer smokers now. They reached people that were not interested in the faff and the difficulty. But we are where we are, as the expression goes.
I will say this, and I know that I will cross that door and someone will beat me. Please don't. We can talk. I'm talking personal. I'm not talking in name of association or the next user. You ask, where do I stand? And I will be brave enough to put out loud my position on disposables. I'm totally against disposables. I'm totally in favor of banning disposables everywhere and forever. Vaping, it's something that saves lives. That's why I'm here. That's why I advocate. That's why I feel that I'm doing something good for the people, for the humanity. The disposable cigarettes are exactly the opposite. They damage the environment in a way that it's unmeasurable. I don't want to die, and in 13 years more, the people are still telling how these stupid people were talking about health while they were destroying the environment with this amount of lithium batteries, with this amount of plastic. And also, and it's something that needs to be faced, it's that disposables are easier for the kids to have them, to buy them, to hide them. So there are the first two reasons why I want or I'm in favor of banning disposables. And the third one, it's that the market of disposables have such amount of different brands, different shape, different color, different flavor, that the user today have no option to know which one is good, which one is bad, if it's not a super crazy guy as us, that we're all day thinking in vaping, but you have so much, it's like a sea of options, and you never know what it's inside because it's so much that there is no way to control them either. You don't know, even us, you can't be 100% sure that the disposable vape that you're buying, even in a vape shop, it's real from the brand that it was supposed to be. So it have all this bad stuff. And the fourth one, and the thing that it's maybe the most important one, I think, and that's my personal point of view, that if we have any option of losing this battle, it will be because of the disposable. They do an environmental damage, they do damage to be able, easier for the kids to have them, and that's my position. I hope no one beat me, but someone need to be brave and say it.
Mine's gonna be quite contrary. I'm saying like I'm not for disposable, but then again I'm not against. But since the question from Ash was asked about each government, I think there are many governments, including ours in Thailand, they're considering lifting the ban on just disposable because the way the government thing is, it easier to control. You have to keep this in mind. Disposable are non-adjustable, non-refillable. You cannot do anything. You cannot charge it. You cannot. And they also think that, okay, of course, we are old enough to remember recycling bottles. Coca-Cola, 50 cents, 25 cents in US, right? So some of the government will be thinking like, yeah, why not do that? In the beginning, well, you're an adult, you're a smoker, you spend lots and lots and lots of money on smoking, you put deposit down. The next time you want to go back and buy a new one, you need to bring this one back into recycle it. This I've heard from government officials, not only from my country, but also from other countries. Personally, I agree with Ignacio, say like, I don't like disposable, but it's more personal. Disposable don't have the flavor that I like. That's it. So it's really, for me, it's personal. They don't have, because I smoke like 0 or only 0.3% nicotine. That's it. I cannot tolerate higher level. I started with 24, and it just reduced and cut it down, and now it's either 0 or 3. So disposable is definitely way too high nicotine for me. So that's personal for me. I don't like disposable because the flavor and the nicotine level is not suitable for me, for personally. But if you want, if I want to answer directly to H's question, the government, we have to be careful. Some government will think that it's easier to control. So it's us to educate them and saying like, hey, I agree with Ignacio, say like it's going to bring lots and lots and lots of pollution. But then again, we have other kind of pollution, which we probably we won't have enough time to talk about that.
I forget one point more that it's as important. I think also that disposables are killing and will kill vaping shops. And why it's important for me, the thing of the vaping shops. Vaping shops are point of tobacco cessation. They are working. They have people that know what they are talking about. They give you personal atenderte personalmente, personal help. They teach you. But with the disposables, you have disposables in shops where the guy that is selling it got no idea what they even are. If you ask him, they got nicotine? How much puff? Read the box. So also it's because I know that, especially from the industry, hearing me saying I will prefer the ban, it's like, no, it's part of the vaping industry will be killed, because finally it will be like buying bubble gums and it will be controlled by, it's happening. It's happening now. So that's another reason why I will set not support. I won't go against ban of electronic disposable devices. And the other question, in my country, still not a topic. Still not a topic.
Yes. In Sweden, they are available, and I don't know of any plans to remove them from the market. I'm not going to contradict any of the things that has been said, but one thing I really want to point out is that different products work for different groups. And this is super important. Disposables reach a different group. And innovation and innovative products, they reach new groups and different groups. And I mean, even in Sweden, where we have very low numbers, we're not reaching everyone. Old women especially, they haven't started use snus, nicotine pouches, nothing. We might see a change with vapes and maybe even with the disposable ones that have come to the Swedish market. But we don't know that yet. And I think this is a huge part in making sure that we get not only lower, but maybe to 0% smokers. So I think that's one important point to keep in mind when we're discussing this.
Yeah, it is extraordinary. Disposables appeal to the very young, but also, oddly enough, to the very old. They just find them really easy. Asha, you have a question down there. Well, you have it.
Go ahead. Okay. It's your power.
I am Mike, and I've got the mic. Turning back to the previous subject, I want to tell you, Ignacio, that we have done the same in Romania and in general in European Union. Romania being a part of European Union, we have probably one of the toughest laws in the world concerning protection of the youth and the kids. Indeed, the industry always sustain without any kind of reserves all the measures who limitate access. At least in my country, concerning the electronic buying, for example, you can do it, but you have to show your ID when the merchandise are delivered to your door. It is totally forbidden, prohibited to be delivered via drop box, like a fast courier or something. You cannot buy it like that, yeah. Meantime, we had at our term, exactly as you have done in Chile and in Latam. Even we had a lot of legislation initiatives and bills to support access of the kids. But the realities show that the kids still smoke on the streets or vape. And with all of that, with all of this positive attitude coming from the industry, we still to be blamed at home. Now we many times discuss with the authorities that from our perspective and our point of view, we have done all good sense could allow us to do in this respect. But much more we cannot do, because we cannot substitute ourselves to the law enforcement special agencies like police or local police or national police or something. So that always they keep this subject with the youth and kids on the higher agenda, just to have a tool to suppress our action and activity in any condition. Just this I want to say, yeah. Which is pity. It's pity. Really, it's pity, because we made really efforts to ban to the kids.
A question. Pass that back there, Alex, I think.
Thank you very much. For policies to work, generally, they have to be not only attractive, that is effective, but they also have to be feasible. And I think there's very little question about the strong demand for disposable vapes in many countries. What I'm concerned about is whether trying to impose a ban on disposables is actually feasible. When Donald Rumsfeld was the Secretary of Defense designate in the United States in 2001, he was interviewed in the Senate at the confirmation hearings, and he was asked whether he would support, if he became Defense Secretary, if he would support the US military being involved in the war on drugs. And he said that the problem in the drugs issue is almost always demand, not supply. And this is the problem here. Whether you like disposables or not, I think the possibility of achieving a ban is minimal.
Yeah, very, very, very prescient point. Next there.
I just want to throw a spanner in the works here about disposables. How do you guys feel about kids' toys? Should we ban kids' toys because of environmental impacts? Because hang on, Asa, because basically kids' toys contribute to 77 times more e-waste than disposables. The issue around this is not about the guys. We're getting trapped into chasing after new narratives, after new narratives, after new narratives, and we're actually walking away from the essence of why we are here, and that's to address non-communicable diseases and early mortality around tobacco smoke. And they keep throwing things in the works and in the road for us to challenge. And the idea we challenge these is using the data that we currently have. So just a simple Google search of what creates the most e-waste in the world, it's kids' toys. So do we ban kids' toys, or do we look at ways of recycling these devices and these items, or even repurposing them? You know, I was just looking up just quickly, just to answer here. In order, Barbies, for example, 1 year of manufacturing of Barbie dolls contributes to 380 million gallons of fuel. So if you just go through all those numbers, and my issue that we have is that we start talking about a lot of things, colors, flavors, disposable vapes, the environmental impact, how much deforestation. You know, there was a rhetoric that was just last year about we should grow more food than tobacco because we could feed 20 million more people. But did you know that, for example, food waste, if we had prevented food waste, we could feed 2 billion people. That's the data that's out there. So what we're getting, we're falling into traps as advocates, you know, consumer advocates. We keep falling and trying to defend our space and defend our space, but we should be taking the art of bringing it back to what the essence of everything is. and not entertain and defend things that is done on purpose to derail or to throw in another conversation point to prove, when in fact there are issues out in the world that are far greater, far bigger, that have solutions. And we should just replicate those solutions.
Yeah, to be honest, as far as disposables are concerned, they're like any other disposable or reusable good. It's how you manage the waste afterwards. That's the solution, not banning the product. But to be honest, I'm not 100% sure the environment is the concern when it comes to justifying the ban, you know?
80% of the world's plastic bottles end up in waterfalls, and the over 1 million plastic bottles are purchased every minute,
Sorry.
according to the United Nations. That's plastic water bottles.
Okay.
So where's the environmental...
Two little things. First, in the part that I totally agree with you, this was to talk about advocacy, and it came a question, we just answer, and it switched to something totally different. So that's the first. And the second one, because of the plastic bottles, do you drop your trash from your car? It's like trying to mix up stuff that have no sense. I won't be throwing my part of the cigarette out because there is hundreds of millions of trash there. I think we are losing the point in both things. We're losing the point in talking about disposables and getting away from advocacy that was our main thing. But this can continue outside. We can continue to see our point of view, that it's nice that we have different point of view, but I think it's going away and we will end talking about...
Ignatius, my point is that it's about rhetoric that we've been combating or fighting throughout the ages. Disposable just happens to be something else that has been thrown in the way. If we think back of over the years of things like popcorn lung and flavors, Ivali, colors, all of these things get thrown in the way, and we find ourselves trapped in defending and using these things in order to prevent us from actually talking about the real true essence around tobacco harm reduction. It's done intentionally to literally dismantle what we're doing.
Yeah, we're talking about all this because we all know what the price of smoking and its continued price is. And we're not here to defend vaping, we're here to defeat cancer, COPD, heart disease. That's the reason we're here. We're right up to time, and I know GFN is a tight ship, so I'm going to thank all the panelists and everybody else here and draw a line. And of course yourselves for coming.
Thank you.